Hi, this is Eric Rivet, Chief Curator of the Western Reserve Historical Society, and today I am coming to you from my house in the first of a series of videos that will be put out by myself and my coworkers about a variety of topics relating to Cleveland history. How many of these videos we're going to do? Well, time will tell. I thought today I would start with a topic that I researched for an exhibit that we put on about a year and a half ago, and that's Cleveland's role in World War I. It seems especially relevant right now because, of course, while World War I was raging, the 1918 influenza epidemic brought out across the entire world, and of course it had an effect on Cleveland as well. So what did Cleveland look like in 1918? Let's go back a little bit farther. So in 1914, the population of the city of Cleveland is about 561,000 people, give or take. And it's interesting to note that about a third of the population of the city of Cleveland at that time either was born in a foreign country or their parents were. And so you're talking about a city of immigrants, probably more so at this point in the city's history than really at any other time. It's interesting to note as well that out of that population, about 20%, so about 1 out of every 5 people in Cleveland at the time in 1914 was of German descent. And so when the war started, Cleveland, like much of the country, found itself in a kind of an interesting situation, which was we were neutral. The United States didn't join the war until 1917. But you have a lot of people in the United States, and especially in Cleveland, who are of the opinion that should the United States join the war, maybe we should fight on the side of the Central Powers, Germany, Austria, the Ottoman Empire. There was no foregone conclusion at this point in the war that the United States would join on the side of the Allies. And so there are several things that cause that to change. That's not really the focus of this talk. Maybe we'll get into that at another time. But you had things like, of course, the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915, which killed about 120 Americans, including 7 Clevelanders. So even 2 years before we're in the war, there are Clevelanders who were being killed during World War I. And then also unrestricted submarine warfare, the Zimmerman telegram, if you remember that from your school days. All of these things together combine, and ultimately in 1917, we joined the war. And so what that means for Cleveland is that all of a sudden, about 41,000 Clevelanders are going to go off to fight in the war. But Cleveland, throughout this entire period, has been supporting the war effort. And we've been doing that by building guns, building uniforms, creating uniforms, medical supplies, food, armor plate, trucks. Later in the war, we make a few tanks as well. And all of these things, throughout the city, there are about 700, give or take, local companies, both big and small, that are contributing to the war effort. And so what that means for Cleveland as a whole is that the city is growing extremely wealthy off of World War I. We're almost printing money. In fact, by the end of the war, Cleveland has produced about $750 million worth of war goods to support the war effort. And so the city is booming. The city is booming like it has never boomed before in its history. And what that triggers is all of a sudden Cleveland is the place to be. Because you have this industry that is raging 24 hours a day to create war material, and you need people to work in those factories. And so what you have is an influx of people from all across the United States, but especially from the South. They're pouring into the city to get jobs in factories, to get jobs, any kind of job they can take. And so the end result of this is that Cleveland grows quite a bit during World War I. Now remember, 1914, you have a population of about 561,000, give or take. By 1918, the population of the city is 700,000 people. So you have a huge influx, which is good and bad. You have the ethnic diversity, the ethnic makeup of the city of Cleveland is changed forever. It's a very different city coming out of World War I than it was going into it. But it's also a very crowded city. And so that is not a good thing because remember, what is especially relevant right now is that you also have the influenza epidemic of 1918. And so now all of a sudden you have a city that is very crowded, and it becomes really a hotbed for this disease that's spreading rapidly throughout the city. That, I'm sure, will be a topic for another day. So in the meantime, check us out on our website, www.wrhs.org, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, stay safe.